What is going on, everybody? Welcome in. We are back from a one-day NBA hiatus. And let me tell you something. The bathroom wall that is Twitter gets lit up on the day that there's no NBA, at least by yours truly. My name is Zach Graham, a.k.a. Kawaisenberg DFS, here with my good buddy, the man on the marquee, Fast Eddie Fear. Eddie, how you doing?
I'm doing well, and I'm happy to be with you here on Daytime TV, where we're going to learn how to take a turkey baster, some old balsamic vinegar, and some toothpicks to make you feel better on those days when you have that not so fresh feeling. Sorry.
Well,
the opening music still just absolutely kills me. Like I need Joy Behar in here stat. It is a hell of a slate. It's a doozy. It's a huge one.
Yeah. 12 games on a Tuesday. The NBA giving us the old switcheroo. No show proceeding us here.
They just bumped everything with the championship.
Oh, for sure. I'm just saying, with our scheduling, it would have been nice to have two streams today, the one behind the paywall, but we'll get back to that tomorrow. And since you and I are here, I assume you're good to go an extra hour after lock. I am in for it.
Oh, sure. I'm good for anything. That's what the boys said in college.
Yeah, so we'll go 2 hours or so here, and plenty to talk about. As you said, Eddie, 12 games, so 24 of the league's 30 teams in action here tonight, and it is April 5th, so good fuckery to come.
Yes.
So I guess we could do our motivation rundown here to start.
I think maybe we should go by. I think maybe sort of. I think it's a bit much at once. As my wife is known to say. But I think it's a bit much to take all that in at one time. We want to, like people like you say it, and then we don't talk about the team again for 57 minutes.
Sure.
So I think we should actually, and it was my fault we started doing that, but I think, especially on a slate of this size, we should maybe break it down.
Yeah, makes sense to me.
DX style. Yeah.
Let's go chronologically here. And again, when we get closer to lock, we can always jump back to these first two games.
Sure.
But the first one here out of the two going off at 7 p.m. Eastern, the Sixers visiting the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers, without Goga Bitadze tonight, Malcolm Brogdon will continue to be rested as the Pacers have the tank in full throttle and maybe broke the throttle off at this point.
That's
and I think that would be 100% certainty if we didn't have TJ McConnell returning for this team for God knows what reason, but Timothy John back for the Pacers tonight on a minutes limit. And on the other side, relative clean bill of health there for the Sixers, at least for all the players we are concerned with when it pertains to this DFS slate. So, Eddie, what stands out to you in this Philly and Pacers game? I should say Indiana game there. Stick with both cities. Outside of the large spread, which I think was like 12.5.
That's
like it's down to 11.5.
Yeah, that's well, it's difficult to talk about this game without talking about Joel Embiid, and it's difficult to talk about Joel Embiid outside of the context of the other spend-ups on the slate, of which there are many. I think the combination of April basketball with a lot of projected blowouts and dicey matchups and matchups where we have divergent motivations between the two teams make sort of scripting your lineup a little more important here than normal. Like, I've had some Embiid or Giannis. Is a question I've gotten at least 2 or 3 times. And they project very similarly for me. I would rather in one lineup usually play Giannis, but there's about 17 variables here. So Philly is playing the 76ers. Philly is playing the Pacers, who have basically no motivation to win. They're going to finish. You and I were just talking about, I think, 13th in the East.
No.
Nothing's going to move that. They can move a ping pong ball up or down, depending on how Portland finishes, though I don't see them winning any games anytime soon. So you can kind of predict what's going to happen there. So I would say nominally that I expect Chicago to put up a better performance here. Now, this Chicago team has been bad recently. And when I have a number of friends who have 3K tickets into
the Millie.
Into the 2 million on draft.
Nice. Half the prize pool to first. Gotta love it.
Motherfucker. I've actually spent several hours looking at this slate over the last couple days and talking about, and I was pretty high on Zach LaVine 48 hours ago, who almost certainly will not play today. I don't know if we've actually seen him out. Did we actually get out? He was trending that way the whole time. So, and he has the best matchup here. And these teams have played 3 times previously this year, and the best single game performance you got was out of Zach LaVine. Now, Zach LaVine missed one game, and you did get the better game out of DeRozan, who put up, I want to say, 46 or 47 fantasy points in what was a competitive game between these two teams. Mm-hmm. But I think there's a greater chance than is giving credit here that Milwaukee just throttles them. Evidence one would be the last time they played, Milwaukee put it on them in Milwaukee, which is relevant, by 26, 28, 30, absolutely hammer-fisted them when Milwaukee did not have Drew, and Chicago had, I believe, everyone. So they just literally obliterated this team when the Bulls were 100%. Now you're taking Zach LaVine out. I am more dubious about this guy. I think the line is at like 6 or 7 points. I would place a bet on Milwaukee to cover. I think that they win this a little more handily than that, which makes me concerned. But this goes back to my original point. What do I think about the Pacers and Joel Embiid? Generally, I like Giannis better because I think the Bulls are nominally more likely to put up significant opposition. Both these teams are playing to win. Embiid, obviously, some eye on the scoring title and the MVP, and we can expect to put up a good performance. So again, for me, if I think that game stays close, DeMar DeRozan is my best projecting spend on the day. And at that point, I'm going to play Giannis. If I'm not playing DeMar or Vooch, who will get reasonably low ownership and is cheap enough on DraftKings at 7,700, he certainly deserves a spot, then maybe instead I go with Joel Embiid. And you can choose to take shots at that game, although it's very interesting to go at the Pacers. Interestingly enough, even though they're both in the Eastern Conference, this is only the second time the Pacers have played the 76ers this year. The first time way back in, I want to say, November. Pacers won that game. Pop quiz. How many players who started in that game for the Pacers this year and beat the 76ers will start in that game tonight?
I'm going to go 0.
0 is the correct answer. Absolutely none of those players will suit up, as some of them are Kings and some of them are Chris Duarte and injured. But literally none of the, whatever it would have been, Brogdon, Duarte, Sabonis, etc. team, Miles Turner, obviously also injured. They're all going to sit down. So shout out to the couple of people who were like, when they played earlier this year, it's like minorly different situation. So, I have Joel Embiid projected for slightly worse than Nikola Jokic. The matchup is very good for both of them. It is better for Embiid. He's going to beat the crap out of whoever they put in front of him. Goga isn't going to play. That's not largely relevant when you look at Embiid, who can, get his thing going against some of the best centers in the league. Changing Goga and Isaiah Jackson isn't going to markedly change his projection. He projects extremely well. So this comes back to, do you think this game stays close? None of the Pacers look good. And putting McConnell in there even takes the shine off, who would have been some of the top guys for me. But it's even harder to get to Halliburton in what's not a good matchup. The 76ers have not been as good defensively as they have been earlier in the year. That number is starting to slip a little bit, but it's still not a good matchup. The only really positive ranking Pacer that I have would be Isaiah Jackson. He should start now if they haven't announced that yet. He's only 4,600. I think I would rather play Moses Brown if I was going to go to a high 4s priced center going at lock in this scenario. But you can make a strong argument for Isaiah Jackson. I have him right now for 25 minutes, 28 fantasy points. That is an aggregate mean projection. That makes him a pretty good ranking. He's in my top 8 plays on a very large slate for value under 5,000. So he actually looks pretty good for me. Just there's a very real chance he gets his shit pushed in by Joel Embiid. Like, you could get absolutely destroyed. He can be a little bit handsy. He might foul out in 4 minutes. You may get some. So there's obviously a lot of risk there, but power forward eligible. Outside of that, if you're going on the Pacers, Halliburton has obviously looked great. McConnell being back even hurts that a little bit. Knocked him 60 seconds in my projections down to 34 minutes. I had him up at 35. Moves his point projection to 40.25. I had him closer to 41.5. Really hard at 9K to get there, even though he's been outstanding. And just this team is priced up in a below average matchup where they're very likely to get their ass kicked and players coming back. And it's hard to get to anyone else on this team. And similarly, with Philadelphia. In general, if I was to ignore ownership, I would much rather play Nikola Jokic than Joel Embiid. And I would probably rather play, though not much rather play, Giannis. Their chance of failure is a little bit lower. Embiid, obviously the preponderance of likelihood is that he will continue to push for MVP, have a massive usage, but he is, in my opinion, if you had to tell me which one of those 3 players is has the greatest chance of scoring under 50 fantasy points, it, for me, would be Embiid pretty significantly. Greatest chance of a blowout in all 3 of those games, and playing alongside James Harden and to an extent Tobias Harris and Maxey, like more guys more likely to take a bit of a ceiling off there. Giannis a little bit there too. Jokic, that engine doesn't run without his gas in the tank. So if he's not making the points, he's generally getting the assists. He gets so many touches that it's really hard for him not to have sort of safe following. And you can look at this as these guys have ramped up for the MVP case. They've both been playing at a very high level and putting up big scores. The last game when these 2 guys both played was the first time Embiid outscored Jokic in quite a while, and it required Embiid putting up 80-something. I think he had 83 or 84 in that absolutely monster, ridiculous game. Jokic just cleared 70 the last 5 games. Embiid has not done that. Now, that is obviously a very small sample size, but I do have Jokic projected well higher. I don't have him projected to 70 yet. I have him up to 65.5. So there are like some observations for me. So getting to, I don't think any of these teams play on the back-to-back. No, none of these guys play tomorrow. So that gives us some helpful clarity when you're talking about these guys. That's one of the reasons when we talk about studs, as far as a projection goes, it is hard for me to keep Durant in the conversation with these guys because they are playing tomorrow. Obviously, there's been 2 sets of comments, one actually at the beginning of the day, one towards the end of the day, that indicated they don't care. We're not going to limit these guys, even though they play tomorrow. I am sure that is largely the case. This is a Nets team that is a little embarrassed by their current position, that is going to go all out and win. But evidenced by answering the question, Steve Nash is aware they play tomorrow. And he's aware these guys aren't that young anymore. He's aware that Kyrie isn't eating solid fucking food and is a little tired fasting for Ramadan. He's aware Kevin Durant has an injury history. There is a significant risk here, whatever you think it is. I think they're running their normal rotations, but if they're up 26 after 3 quarters, those guys are sitting the hell down pretty soon, I would expect. We don't know that to be the case. But there is some thoughts that started with the Pacers and 76ers and traveled all the fuck over the place.
Well, I mean, I think that gave a pretty good overview of how you're approaching this slate. Couple questions that did come in over the first 15 minutes of the stream, and some news. So
we talked about one game for a second. I went on a 12-minute rant, 6:20. Sorry, go ahead.
Let me tell you something. That's why. Guess what, Eddie? During that rant, the viewership ticked up. A couple people every few minutes. People are locked into how you're viewing this 12-game slate. Some news did come in. Jaden McDaniels is in and on a 15-minute limit for the Wolves. Patrick Beverley is out. Jalen Suggs will have a minutes limit starting for the Magic today. James Johnson is ruled out with the non-COVID illness. Gordon Hayward, unfortunately for our memes on this show, ruled out, although it is not
No,
Wednesday.
no. He's out for the sex.
Yeah, that's like he's got to prepare. There's no game tomorrow, though.
You're right.
I'm saying there's, like
Charlotte doesn't play tomorrow,
and they were off yesterday, so like you could move the sex up one day. Like I don't know what's going on in the Hayward.
I know
household,
you're younger than me. You should know this. You can have the sex multiple days in a row.
yeah.
No, I'm just. It's a thing. Not at my age, but in theory, my shit will fall. You will. There will be a day. I don't think you've hit it yet, but there will be a day you will sex injury yourself. And I'm not talking about fun sex injury. I have fun sex injured myself many times. We're like, oh, there's a giant paddle mark on my. Yeah, there's. I'm talking about just you have sex, and then the next day you're like, Jesus, my hip. Oh shit, I'm that old. Like that's a moment. I don't know who else in the chat can relate, but you will have a really. I'm that old. Just a little sex makes shit hurt. Not that I'm not particularly vigorous. I am Robin Lopez, exploratory in the bedroom. But shout out if you get that reference. Okay.
Let's see the other news coming in. Bogdan and Gallinari both game time decisions officially for the Hawks, and the Cavs will go Garland, Okoro, LeVert, Markkanen, and Moses Brown. So Jake was in here asking if we could discuss, and I know we're just right away deviating from our game by game breakdown here, but asking if we could talk about James Johnson being out, potentially solidifying Drummond's minutes because Nectat got 6 to 8 minutes at center last time out.
Yeah, no, that's very smart. Yeah, it does a couple things for Nectat being questionable. It does stuff for Drummond and Claxton. I think is the other guy. So again, Drummond fine regardless of other individuals in your lineup. Pairing Claxton with your I have no starters in this game lineup, or even pairing them with Suggs or like you want to get real crazy 150 Guzman or something. But your Claxton pairing with a blowout here makes a good amount of sense. So yeah, you're very smart. I was actually adjusting the nets for the fact that James Johnson won't play. A subtle piece of news there. It looks obviously there's a tag on these guys. I think I'm saying obviously too much. I'm just saying.
You and Mike Tomlin.
I think I gotta come up with something else in there. So I have Claxton just per standard value, pretty good. I have him less than, let's say, Isaiah Jackson, who we just talked about. I have him a tier under that if we were using our 1 to 10 rankings. I have Isaiah Jackson as a low 9 or a high 8. I have Claxton, Isaiah Jackson. I have Claxton just a little bit lower than that. I have his median coming in at 22 minutes and 24 and a quarter fantasy points. That's not bad for 4,000. Like that's perfectly equitable. And Jimmy Johnson being out helps all these guys a little bit. I don't think you're getting the Blake Griffin. I don't think you're getting a Cam Thomas, though. Again, blowout guys in this game is a little bit appealing, but I think it is just fine to play Kevin Durant. I wouldn't on FanDuel you play Kyrie Irving because of the pricing discrepancy. I do think that's fine. I do think Kyrie Irving fasting for Ramadan, which he does do, is relevant. I am loath to attempt to quantify such a thing. I have fasted in my life several times, including for Ramadan when I was in Africa once, actually. And it, for me, was fatigue. So, and I remember reading some things about this, but I think if you research this, your burst power and whatever the fuck are just fine. But especially as the day goes on, fasting tends to be a fatigue thing. Basically, for me, I would amortize this into him being in play on FanDuel and generally on DraftKings. I don't think I want to make that effort. And they're on the front end of a back-to-back, and there's just so many good spends. If you're playing on DraftKings, you have a 100 lineup and you have 6 Kyries, that's fine. But I think he will hold more ownership than he should. I don't think Ramadan fasting back-to-back, I don't think all those things are as well known as they should be. So I think his ownership will hold where it would be and should be in a vacuum at 9%, which is probably nominally too high. I don't have a great take here, and absolutely he can put up 55 fantasy points. But his price is high enough, especially on DK, where Durant can and just did give us, 70, 75 burger, 53 real, whatever the hell that game was, 55 real. So yeah, those are my takes there. But the original question was, yes, having Jimmy Johnson out helps Drummond a little bit. I think it moved my projection from 25 and 34 to 26 and 35 and a quarter or something like that, which is fine. It's a little bit cashy, but there's enough of an upside there in this matchup that certainly that can happen. And it moved Claxton into my number 3 place on this team. I think we get Bruce Brown starting. I don't know if we've confirmed that yet or that was randomly hit. It would be a little early for that, so I don't think we know.
Have not seen a lineup.
Right. I think Bruce Brown starts, and if he starts, this is a good matchup for him. You want steals and blocks.
I like him a lot.
This is a young Houston team that turns like he would get up to a 9 for me in the event we saw him starting. With him not starting, it's a bit of a mess, and you don't know how much Kessler, Edwards, Patty Mills, Cam Thomas, whatever bullshit doesn't come. Once he comes in starting, his minutes projection for me would be 30.5. I think I did when I did the rotations for if he's starting. That's enough that he would project for somewhere around 29 fantasy points, which at 5,300 is a very reasonable projection and a matchup in which he can get some upside. So
it's interesting to me that you wouldn't just lock him in as a starter. Bruce Brown,
me or they?
Both. I mean, he started like 20-something games in a row, hasn't he?
Yeah. I just want to hear it.
Sure, gotcha.
It's one of those things where I think they could, and the backs are cut. Like I'll give you 90%. I just want to hear it.
Gotcha.
Just one of where variables, and Nash has done it a couple times earlier in this year, where it's like we're making this change, and because this guy's out, we're going to try seeing what it looks like. Like he's had comments where like, I want to see how well Patty and Claxton work together, and so a rotation swap. So I would say 90 whatever percent you do get Bruce Brown starting, but I'd keep an eye on it. I'm not.
Do you think he potentially gets blowout run because you have no Seth, no Goron, David Duke is out as well?
No Seth,
Cam
Goron,
Thomas is there.
Right. It'd be Cam Thomas, Kessler, Edwards,
Claxton.
I
think Bruce is in there.
I'm trying to remember who the other guys on the. I'd have to look. I don't have full cognizance off the top of my head who their blowout run guys are in there. But it's a fair point that he could be in there. I'll take a look at who exactly they have up right now.
I mean, it might be Patty Mills out there at the end in that situation.
I think it would be. I had Mills. I was about to say as the 4th guy there, but I didn't want to say it because he would definitely sit behind any of the kids who happen to show up. No, I think they have 10 active. I'm going through my notes here, and everyone else I've blocked out. So, yes, I think they would probably. I think he would almost certainly play in a blowout. I'll put it that way. Like they have to rest 5 guys in a blowout. I think the guys you rest are Griffin, Aldridge, Durant, Drummond, and Irving, which means you're playing Mills, Brown, Thomas, Edwards, and Claxton. But
apparently, less and less optimism that Lonzo Ball will return this season. So that's certainly a blow. Yeah, certainly a blow to the Bulls and their fans.
They've been bad. I've said that before. Like I want to reiterate. I think a useful thing to do. If you have a good question, go ahead and fire it. But other than that, I was just going to talk about some of my top-rated plays.
Go ahead.
And the plus and minus. Well, I have DeMar DeRozan sitting as my highest-ranked player versus expectancy of value. I have DeMar DeRozan at 37.5 minutes and 51.25 fantasy points. That is an excellent number for a guy who costs $8,900. He ranks versus expectancy slightly better than Embiid, Towns, Trey, Ingram, Vooch, Jokic, Anthony Davis. I have my concerns. Again, this Milwaukee defense is very good in the interior. I believe there was a game earlier this year. I'm thinking back to the games they played where Levine sat against them, and we got a very good DeRozan game. Give me. Not great, but I recall him taking like 20 free throws against them. So let me see if I can get this straight and make sure I'm remembering these games correctly. My point being that there is
Bogdan is in, Gallinari is out. Sorry to interrupt there. Harden, Maxey, Tybal, Harris, Embiid. No surprises from Philly.
Okay. They played 3 times this year. Once in January, twice in March. He went 11 for 30 in the first game in March. In the 3 games, he has 33, 44, and 47 fantasy points. So the last game where he had 33 fantasy points, he played 36 minutes. And I think Levine was out for this game. So we literally have let me make sure I remember.
George Kalaitzakis and Xavier Simpson to start for the Thunder.
That's money. People will fuck that up. Like
Mhm.
it's a little earlier than we wanted, and we wanted that news at fucking 7:15. But yep, they brought up 2 guys today. So instead of having, I think it would have been 9 active, they will have 11 active, and they're starting 2 kids. Watch yourself. That's good news for you. Just generally, we're going to want to get away, but we will talk about that a little more in depth in a second. So the last time they played, the Bucks won 126-98. It was a 28-point blowout. I had it almost right on the nose. The Bucks did not have Drew Holiday. Chicago had everyone. Okay, DeRozan played 36 minutes, had 21, 4, 2, 1, and 1 for 33 fantasy points. Okay, and then there was, I believe, a game earlier this year where they played. And Levine was out, which seems useful when we're looking at how he's going to do in a game where they play and Levine is out. So the earlier game they played in March, the Bucks won by 6 in Chicago, and Zach LaVine didn't play. So yes, DeMar DeRozan went 11 for 30 in that game. This I would consider to be optimistic news if you were looking to play DeMar DeRozan. They started Tristan Thompson next to Vooch. That's interesting. Dosunmu, Levine. No, never mind. Levine's right there, and I can't read. Okay, so they took... Nice job, Ed. I'm going to really read these box scores. This is what happens when I go from one site to the other. Maybe the first game? I'm just going to check. First game, hey, no Zach LaVine. The game in January, there was no Zach LaVine. DeMar DeRozan had 35 and 6, which is fine. Like he had 35 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 turnover, 46.5 DraftKings points. That was, I believe, the really low scoring game. Yes, the Bucks beat the Bulls by 4. So the Bucks have beat them. So yeah, I guess this to me will come down to a question of how much you think these guys get owned. What are our ownership projections internally? We can start with for DeRozan and Vooch. Because I think you're going to get low 30s on DeRozan, which I don't think I have a great take on. Like if he's 30% owned, I'll be like, okay. It's an enormous slate. It's a later game. I don't have to lock that money up right away. That's very appealing for me. Maybe the Bucks rest somebody. But anything? Also, by the way, the Bulls do play tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, we've got, 6 games tomorrow, I think? So multiple teams. Bulls. I know you already talked about the Nets being on the front end here.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly a factor. So I'm trying to get any information on the Thunder lineup, which we don't have yet.
Yeah, don't need it yet. Do we have ownership numbers on the Bulls internally where we think those guys
Yeah,
are?
let me get a refresh here. And
I think DeRozan is going to be low 30s to high 30s. I think I'll start with a 3.
Okay, on our projections, we've got both Vooch and DeMar right around 23%, with Kobe White, Alex Caruso, and Ayo Dosunmu right in between like 16 to 20.
Okay.
Williams 8.
I will guess that DeRozan will come in well higher than that. But I think he gets into the 30s. And I don't have a great take here, but obviously, so just reiterating myself, wanted to discuss that through for a little bit. This all comes by way of me looking at this for a couple of days. And this is a good Zach LaVine matchup.
Mm-hmm.
And the only game it looks like a Bull has had over 50 fantasy points against the Bucks this entire year was a Zach LaVine game, and that makes sense. Their interior defense is incredibly solid. When they get got, it is usually from 3. That is, as anyone who follows the NBA knows, not DeMar DeRozan's comfort zone. So anyhow,
we did get that Brandon Williams is still questionable for the Blazers with the quad injury, and Chris Dunn will start if he's ruled out.
That'd be pretty sexy.
It would.
Plus these days.
Upper 4s?
Yeah, I think it's 4.7, 4.8, something like that.
4.8, correct.
So anyhow, we'll go through some of my other notes on these guys. So DeRozan for me projects better than Vooch, but Vooch still projects extremely well, and due to being a center is just not going to be the hell that owned. There are tons of centers which make interesting plays. Anthony Davis is center only on DK. That's very relevant. Bam for $200 more against Charlotte without Kyle Lowry, which always portends some extra usage for him, opens up more triple-double possibilities, stuff like that. Towns, Embiid, Jokic, obviously. So center is very clustered, but if it fits your lineup particularly and you're playing Giannis and cannot DeRozan, again, both of them residing in the power forward spot frequently. And then you have obviously a lot of value centers that we like a lot too. Claxton, Moses Brown, who I mentioned previously. Those of you kids, you young whippersnappers, you don't remember way back in the day when Moses Brown was a goddamn DFS force. About a year ago. I want to go almost exactly a year ago. Moses Brown has like multiple 50-point DFS games.
Oh, yeah. Those were back in the Thunder days, right?
Yeah, but literally a year ago. It's April 20. Man, the bubble has completely screwed up my reckoning of years in the NBA forever. But I think we're... oh, Christ, I'll just look it up. But I think we are talking head to stat muse Moses Brown... most draft Kings points in a game. He has had 50 fantasy points 3 times on March 16th, March 27th, and May 16th, 2021, where he had his career highest game of 66.5 DK points. He can get it on, and it's a very good matchup against an Orlando team, and I don't think the ownership gets up there that much because of the fact his last game was a down game, and that was, by the way, getting his shit pushed in by Joel Embiid, which is one of the reasons I like him better than Isaiah Jackson, who takes his spot getting his shit pushed in by Joel Embiid. Now he gets to go out there and deal with Mo Bamba for the 21 minutes Mo Bamba plays, and then... So we had a bit of a dust up in chat, if you will, or at least a friendly confrontation where we were discussing Markelle Fultz projections and minutes.
Oh.
Not you and me. I just mean collectively we had
some
people were like, I don't take it'll take a lot for you to personally offend me. You're my boy. But no, I'm just saying there were some strong opinions voiced. Or I voiced a strong opinion. People were saying like I haven't projected for 26 minutes. I think that's fucking lunacy. I think that's insane. He's come back from injury and played, I don't know what the number is, 12 games. And he just hit his high point of 22 minutes. Okay. He is starting, which you would think portends more. And that's fine, but just understand, before the 22, he literally went 19-20, 19-20, 19-20, 19-20, 21. So if you want to say you think 24 is an average, I can accept that. I have 23.5. I think 23 is reasonable. I think 26 is ape shit nuts. It's supposed to be an average. You also have to keep in mind, this team will do anything to lose. So God forbid he is playing well, he is out of there. So your projection need to understand the better there's some positive correlation with him playing well and getting fewer minutes because of this fucking team. Second of all, they are fucking with starters minutes all the time. If you went back and looked at the last, I'll pull a number out of my ass here, 7 Magic games, I will say the number of times a starter has played 24 minutes or under is 10, 12. It's a number. It's more than 1 per game on average. Absolutely. The last time these two teams played, which was 10, 14, 16 days ago, they played the Cavs and Cole Anthony started. And I liked him in that matchup because what was going on with the Cavs defense. And he played 24 minutes in a game that I think was a 6-point game because he was doing well and then to sit his ass down. So just happened with Cole Anthony, who at the time was perfectly healthy, if memory serves. So he projects fine. He projects better in a fantasy point a minute. I just think dude gets really owned now. And several places are over projecting, going like 27 minutes and 33 fantasy points. I think you're talking out of your ass. I think that's an absurd projection. Maybe it'll happen now. And I think that's possible. But that's an upside projection. There are any number of scenarios in which he plays 20 minutes. If you haven't projected for 26, you're saying 22 is as likely as 30, and you are wrong. Right. It is not. You're not necessarily saying that. There's a whole thing with mean versus median averages. But you're basically saying that, and that's you're wrong. There are any number of ways this guy, like I think 20 minutes is so much more likely than 30.
Yeah, I mean, another big factor in the false play for me, and I apologize if I missed you discussing it, but the fact that Kyle and the team have him projected at 23% ownership on DraftKings right now, like that's just another bullet on the list of why I wouldn't be super attracted to Markelle Fultz in tournaments today. I think he's fine.
I think he's higher than that.
Yeah, with the start,
over
that makes sense.
I think he's in the high 20s. Fucking way. No way. I'm waiting on. There's all kinds of great news that can break that we should discuss. Valanciunas, you're going to get Larry Nance starting or Willie Hernan-Gomez starting this game. And I'm going to like Larry Nance starting or Hernan-Gomez starting in this game.
Yeah.
Give me that as a value spot that I'm holding on to.
Couple lineups here, Eddie. Wizards going Sato, KCP, Kispert, Rui, and Porzingis. Raptors going Van Vliet, Trent, Barnes, Siakam, and Birch at the 5. Trent at like 5'7" looks pretty nice right now. Should play near 40 minutes again.
By the way, Wancho also power forward eligible, and he's the identical price to Larry Nance. So,
you mean Willie?
Willie, I did it again.
He's not.
They're 2 different people. They do not all look the same. You racist fuck. All right, so no, I've done the Willie Wancho thing like 5 times, and you know how much I like the Willie too. It really bothers me. It's like my check.
Pacers.
Yeah, gone.
Hallie, Heald, Taylor, Brissett, Jackson.
They're going big.
They are. No, Terry's 6'5", but
they're going as big as they
this
can.
lineup can get on the boards. We'll say that.
Again, like I say to my wife, it's as big as it can get. I don't know anything else. Like that's all I've got.
I think Irish Rogue said it to start the show, but your innuendos are in playoff form, which is nice this time of year with the playoffs approaching. So
they feel so awkward and dad jokey. Some are so forced. So bad.
We've had a lot of questions over the last half hour coming in about those Bulls value guys and who we prefer and do we pair them with a Vooch or DDR. So my guy Steelers fan here is asking, should I actively avoid pairing Io, White, and DDR? I do have Giannis in there as a run back. I've attempted to get down to Vincent, but I can't really do much with the extra cast unless I blow up the entire lineup.
So I don't mind playing any of the good 4K values on Chicago, which to be clear, you and I had a conversation because for me and for you, Io presents the best point per dollar value. Now, I think he's the highest owned of them as well, but Io, Caruso, and Kobe White all have some up. And so, frankly, does Pat Williams, who I think, have we gotten a starting lineup there? Did they announce the Bulls?
We have not yet. Not right. That I've
so
seen.
I think they may go bigger here because of Milwaukee, and you may get Pat Williams starting next to Javonte, next to, like, there's a couple ways that you may get Tristan starting. Like, there's all kinds of weird shit that can happen with this lineup tonight. So stay tuned. But briefly, I don't have an issue pairing certainly Io or Caruso with DeRozan or Vooch. I don't have an issue even really pairing Kobe with Vooch. Kobe with DeRozan would have the greatest negative correlation of those simply because they both have such a high percentage of their scoring coming from shooting. Still, Kobe White is whatever he is, $3,800, $3,900. That's fine. There are obviously any number of worlds in which DeRozan gets 55 and Kobe gets 35. But if you were looking to avoid a pairing, that specifically is the one I'm trying to get away from. It is not a great matchup. I have concern for a blowout. Obviously, if you are running Giannis, that makes you more inclined to lean in a little bit. But very generically, I don't mind pairing Dosunmu or Caruso with anyone simply because of their profiles and the way they generate fantasy points. I would probably try to avoid playing both Vooch and DeRozan, barring you going into some sort of weird full game stack and getting out there with, I don't know, Grayson Allen or someone else next to Giannis, Brooke maybe. So keep an eye out for that starting lineup as it comes. But those guys all look very good. White, Caruso, Dosunmu, Vooch, and DeRozan. The dice. Now, Kobe White has struggled against the Bucks this year. I specifically looked this up and watched some footage because, again, I was helping some people build $3,000 ticket lineups over the last couple of days. And he was a guy who we were considering when it started to leak that Levine might be in rough shape. So he has struggled. He has not had a good game here, but his profile projects as somewhat of an upside. So this, like Valanciunas on Sunday, it's you very rarely should game log something in the absence of actually knowing how it should work. And it should work okay. So White projects a little worse than Caruso, who projects a little worse than Dosunmu, but it'd literally be the difference between probably a high 8 for Kobe, a low 9 for Caruso, and a mid 9 for Dosunmu. So that's sort of my Bulls take in a nutshell there. If you get Tristan Thompson starting, 10% chance, you can try that at $3,100. I'd still be pretty adverse. If you get Patrick Williams starting, which we've seen, I think is fine. He would still be worse than all three guards, but just a hair. He would creep up just under Kobe at that point. So there's full sort of breakdown on the Bulls. Mentioning again that I do worry this team could struggle significantly.
We've got just over 100 people tuned in right now. Only 18 likes. So as we transition to the next question, go ahead, hit that thumbs up, hit that like button. Helps us out. Trying to grow that channel almost to 5,000 subs. Again, Shams tweeting here, Lonzo expected to be shut down for the rest of the season. But we did have about 3 minutes ago our first Rin Pack alert of the night. He was asking us, or he was saying Xavier Simpson is a 3K guard on DK out of Michigan, less than a point per minute guy. Yes, no, maybe so. First, I'll say, Rin Pack, good to see you. And second of all, I think that looking at his G League stats, he produces enough for me across the box score where I would be willing to, where he's available. I don't know if he's available on all the sites. Is available on DK, I believe.
I know he's on DK, yeah.
I would be willing to take a shot if he gets the start over Teo Maledon here. But again, I'm kind of in a holding pattern on the Thunder as a whole until we get the other three starters.
Yeah. So Georgios Kalitsakis, I think, is the other one. I think he might be Greek. First of all, he can't spell Xavier with a Z. I don't care what your mom says. All right. Yeah, I do not know enough about these guys to have great analysis of their form and function. I have looked up their G League stats. As you mentioned, they are the stats of players who are a little better than the average in the G League, and so you're on the fringe of being called up here. Who the other starters are have a lot to do with the situation, with what we can project these guys for. I think Simpson will probably start at the 2. To my meager memory here, he's sort of a point shooting guard hybrid. If they announce him starting, then yes, he's absolutely in play. And they've said they will start. I'm not sure that doesn't get walked back, but they have indicated those two guys are going to start today. I have not
Sorry, just an update from Underdog here that Mark Dagenhalt said OKC will dress 10 players and indicated that not all of them will play. So this is going to be fun.
Really?
Yeah, that is what they said.
Well, that's only good news because
JRE is the one not suiting up, right?
Right. They have 11. JRE will probably not suit up, who's been dealing with some shit. So they will dress 10 guys, and they will not all play.
I think you get Maledon sitting down, and then at least one of Roby or Poco. That would be my guess.
So my first piece of advice here would be, I would be very dubious about spends right now. There are some fine Spencer. Again, I have been Mr. Mo Wagner for several days. I like Mo Wagner a lot, and he's been good. And I've just been like, look, they're trying to lose. Dude's playing mid-20s, high 20s in minutes. He's better than a fantasy point per minute guy, and he's constantly underowned. Last slate, he was sitting around 15% on a smaller slate. And I was like, that's too low. He projects better than that, and he was really good. Now I think the ownership doubles on a much bigger slate, and I'm happy to move on, and just shit is going to open up later. So this goes from where at the start of the day, Mo Wagner was like the second best value on the slate, certainly before you completely counted I still think he's in the high teens, and that's too much for Mo Wagner in it's a pretty good matchup at this point, honestly. But there are so many chances for crazy things later. Whoever starts out of Nance or Willie.
Yep.
Hernan Gomez is going to project for approximately the same fantasy points at less money and less ownership, I think, at this point. So I am fine, but I will let me be more specific because I'm being kind of vague right now. You want to play a pacer? Go ahead. I generally would not. There's enough going on, and there's still enough guys in the front court. Sure, Goga's out, so now you're down to just having Brissett and Jackson and Brissett, Jackson, Jalen Smith. Sorry, that stuck in my head for a minute there. Terry Taylor, as you mentioned, who they will run all the way the fuck over to center. So like they're not that thin, and a lot of guys are going to get their ass handed. So if I have to play someone there, yeah, it's Isaiah Jackson. But I would generally, in one lineup, if I'm building a singular lineup, I'll float that money on down the line and get someone probably better and cheaper who isn't about to get slapped in the face by Joel Embiid. You want to play Embiid? That's great. Anyone else? Seems a little too cute for me. Like if you're like, I want to play James Harden against these Pacers, I can't argue with you. Again, he's gone from being epic James Harden to 50 fantasy point a game, basically James Harden, and the price hasn't quite dropped enough to make that advantageous, but you'll get him at 4%, and 4% against no defense James Harden seems like it has some sort of upside. But I don't want a lot of exposure to this game. And then if you look at Cleveland and Orlando, like no one is going to play Darius Garland. Like he might be. If I was to just project out my Cavs, I'm curious how he projects for me. It's a very good matchup for Garland, who's playing every game, played all 5 games they had last week. And this team obviously looking to win as we get into the motivation conversation. Yeah, I have Moses Brown as my best player nominally over Darius Garland. I would probably rather play Moses Brown. He can be a really good fantasy player. So, yeah, I would probably have Moses Brown as my favorite here. You could play Darius Garland, but generally I would play neither in one matchup. And then Orlando is just a horrific goddamn mess. I don't want to look at what I have here. I do have Mo Wagner as my best point guy here. I have Markelle Fultz at 23.5 minutes and 27 3/4 fantasy points. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that at 4,600. Again, point guard only. That doesn't help me. I really don't have that many point guard spots. There's a lot of really good point guards. In one lineup, I'm probably not locking anyone. I have no objection if I see Moses, Embiid, Brown. I think those guys are fine. But I do think there's a chance with, and again, I'm not talking about waiting a long time to see what happens. I think we have 2 games at lock, 3 games 30 minutes post that, and 3 games 30 minutes post that. So I'm generally hanging out and waiting for news to break so we can fix it.
Yeah, I was just kind of going through that with a couple of the premium subs in the Discord about, there's certainly guys you can play. You mentioned Mo Wagner. Obviously, Embiid in this matchup is fine, and we talked about Miles Brown a little bit earlier. But yeah, with the other 10 games still coming and the news rolling out, and we'll certainly get more over the next hour and change here. As the Hornets, no surprises, Ball, Rozier, Bridges, Washington, Plumlee. That reminds me, I need to get Gordon Hayward out of the ranks. It's a lot with 24 teams, man. Anything else with 5 minutes to go until these 2 games lock from Philly and Indy or Cleveland and Orlando?
So Hayward is fully out, right?
Correct.
Not like a question. All right. Is someone saying anyone from Charlotte? If you were to play anyone from Charlotte, your best is probably Miles Bridges. But
yeah,
Bridges or Ball can crack 150 for you.
I was gonna say I would lean slightly towards LaMelo for me. But you are saving the $1,500 on Miles Bridges, and those are the only 2 that would make my pool in an MMA build tonight.
Sounds right. I'm going to start trying to figure out OKC projections. Let's assume they don't dress JRE. So this is just going to be me making funny faces for a little bit as I'm like,
Yeah, that's kind of what I do the entire show here, typing and reading stats and all that shit.
It's lucky you have a co-host who just loves the sound of his own voice.
That's why we work so well together, my friend.
Why?
It's one of the factors.
Someone sent me a even Kalatakis is going to be pulling G League stats and then trying to at least get some base expected rates in here. Guessing who they're going to start next to. Kalatakis is a 3-4, I think. So everything changes a lot if they start Poku. Everything changes a lot if they start Maladin. I do think Isaiah Roby has Like, again, let us not bury the lead in that. We are talking about minimum price players who are getting starts at lower ownership. They are playing Portland. So they've gone from the G League to playing Portland. So it's going to be an even easier matchup than there used to be. That's not true, by the way, remotely, in case everyone's wondering. I'm catching Portland. Portland could lose 2 G League teams, but they're still better than almost every G League team. That's like when people say, could Alabama beat this horrible NBA team or NBA?
Yeah.
No, but this horrible NFL team, when they're like, this great college team is so good, they could beat a pro team. No. It's a whole extra tier of shit. Like, this isn't quite that bad. A good G League team could win like 2 games out of 10 against this Portland team. They're pretty bad, but this Portland team is still people who would be all-stars. And they have fucking Charlie Bassey. This is the line he put up the other day. He can't crack this. Dude had 60 fantasy points in the first half. Okay, I got to go into News Tank. But yeah, generally, in a vacuum, I'm probably not locking anyone in one lineup. If you locked, again, either Jackson or Mo Brown, I'm fine with that. Embiid, I'm certainly fine with that. Obviously, just score. Like, there's no reason that he can't do a billion here, and God forbid this game stays close. You can play Jackson at the 4, kind of like both of them. But there's just, I think, enough news to come. And I think most of these guys are overowned. I think Fultz is overowned. We'll do ownership game in 2 minutes, and we can talk about it. I think Wagner is overowned. I think they're respectively high 20s, high teens. That's too much for me. But then after, hey, I'm looking right here, looking at his card on the Thunder website. He was Greek.
Look at that.
Nailed it.
What a guess.
Just, I knew what country he was from without having. Brilliant.
Do you have a projection handy on Brandon Ingram? Our buddy Romulus asking there.
Yeah, he's in that. I was going back and forth between an 8 or a 9 on BI. I have Brandon Ingram at a strong 9, actually. My newest projection bumped him. I'm not sure why. I reduced the likely. Yeah, that's why. Because Valanciunas might be out. I think Valanciunas probably doesn't play. I'm leaning no, but I have Brandon Ingram at 35 minutes and 45.25 fantasy points, which is very healthy for 8K. Ain't nothing wrong with guard forward eligible 8K project. Yeah, BI projects really well for me. I do have him a well tier over McCollum. I've had other people tell me I prefer him because he's cheaper than McCollum. I actually have him projected for raw more than McCollum. I would put that on the board if you were looking for a bet. By the way, quick board update. We're 30 seconds before lock. No board update. It's 7 o'clock.
Same score as Sunday. We did not make any bets on Sunday.
Really didn't make one? I thought we managed to get one up.
We did not. Unfortunately for me, I need some. So maybe an hour or 2 here and get a couple on the board. Okay. Try to claw back in this. 31, 25, and 2 in your favor.
It's only 6. It's not horrific. It's definitely beatable.
Yeah. Largest lead of the season, though.
I turn it on, as the season goes on.
Okay. Sounds like Vit Krejci and Lindy Waters will get heavy looks this summer. Sounds like some of the rotation guys will not play much, being Poku. Yeah, Man is out. JRE. Aaron Wiggins mentioned there.
That's what I'm seeing.
For the rest of the season.
Jesus Christ, they're really going in. All right. I believe we have locked.
Indeed, we have. So I'll pull up ownership here on these first 2 games. Obviously, we will hang out for a little over an hour here. We'll pull up the ownership from the 400K shoot around. And good luck, of course, to everybody. If you are, unfortunately, leaving us here right at lock, especially to those in that Millie contest. I mean, some people, it's bath night for the kids, things like that. Some people have other engagements and don't want to sit around their computers for 3 hours, or I guess can edit on the go. Who knows? Always a couple people that drop off right at lock. But if you are still with us, just remind you, everybody out there, you might be catching us for free on YouTube, and that's fine.
That's fine.
It's okay. But you can join FTN Daily, become a premium NBA subscriber, and you can use the promo code FTNTV scrolling right below our heads here. It's all one word, and it gets you 15% off your first month here of the NBA premium package. That includes access to the FTN optimizer. It has late swap capability, all of our player and ownership projections from Kyle Murray and the team. You get all the tools here, your industry standards, like your, on-off splits, all the stuff you see at any site that you've subscribed to throughout your DFS career. But we have some unique tools here at FTN as well that help our subs every single day. On the NBA side, our advanced DVP tool, to name one. Alex Blickel's game environment tool, that's another good one. You get access to the premium Discord chat, which is the only place where Eddie and I are answering questions during this free stream. You get access to the ranks that Eddie and I do. Not 7 days a week, Eddie, but anytime we are on stream, and guaranteed 5 days.
Usually you get 6. Usually you get 6.
There goes. Tommy says, I never leave a Zach and Eddie stream before it ends. The kids and wife can wait. That's the kind of dedication we love to see here, Tommy. So again, you can come join us, 15% off that first month with the promo code FTNTV. It's all one word. And if you stick with us past that first month, you get 15% off every month thereafter until the end of the NBA Finals there at the end of June. So come on over, join FTN Daily. When you do, get in the Discord, tag Eddie, tag myself. Let us know you're here because we would love to have you. With that, Eddie, let's check out some of this ownership in the $20 Tuesday shoot around, 400K prize pool, 100K up top. Magic, Cavs, Pacers, Sixers. Your guess as to the highest owned player in these first two games.
Yeah, what's the big DK tournament tonight? What's the
400K? 400K Tuesday shoot around, $20 to enter, 100 up top.
All right. I shall block the chat. Although actually I have my rankings up over there, so I cannot see the chat. I'm pretty sure this will be false. Embiid doesn't get that high. He'll beat Wagner, as we discussed. Markelle Fultz.
Markelle Fultz, number 1.
27.
22.
Okay, tolerable. Not as high as I thought. Again, I thought he'd be in the high teens or in the high 20s, and you'd have Wagner in the high teens, which was too much. That's better. I still don't want it in one lineup. If you're telling me right now he's only 22% owned, do you want Fultz in your lineup? My answer would be no.
Sorry to interrupt your flow here, but Tyreek says if he's still here, nobody else has any excuse. Of course, Tyreek. Geez, excuse me. Not speaking of David Tyree, not speaking of the fictional character from Mad Real World. Of course, Tyreek Miller, our good buddy, don't Embiid my status, with the 3 young children there and still sticking around.
Again, rent a movie.
Yeah.
So get off that poor woman. Right.
Fultz number 1.
So Wagner.
Mo Wagner number 2.
Try to stick with my guns there. 18.
18.11. Well done, Eddie.
Ooh, nice. And now you're gonna get either the bonus centers or Embiid. I'll go Embiid, Jackson Brown. Not to be confused with wonderful singer Jackson Brown, but I'll go Embiid, Jackson Brown for the next 3.
Embiid, Brown, Jackson, unfortunately. But you got the top 3.
Yeah. Well, 3 to 5, I guess. All right. Or no, 1 to 3 also. Yeah. So Embiid 15.
Embiid 17.
Okay. Again, we are splitting hairs here. Whenever I'm like, a guy should be more like 15 than 17, it's an absolutely asinine comment. Like, there's no way anyone, including myself, can represent knowledge at that degree of granularity. For me, that is probably a little bit high relative to the ownership of guys in slightly better spots. Like, I don't think Jokic comes in much over 31, and I feel better about that than the Embiid. So that strikes me as a little high. I would not add any of these guys to my lineup. Where are Jackson and Brown?
Brown 17 and Isaiah Jackson 12.5.
Down 17. So I had that wrong too. So I made 2 at least somewhat mistakes on this where Fultz wasn't as high as I thought. And I didn't think Brown would get much above 9, 10, 11%. So him getting into the mid to high teens is still fine. Again, he has a massive upside. The matchup is great there, and he should be back to 30 minutes or something. Like, he projects really well. So bravo to those people who made that poll. Brown is still the guy out of that list who, at his current ownership, I would be first to go for.
Sure. Other notables here: Laurie at 5, Terry Taylor at 5, Karis LeVert at 4, Darius Garland, Jalen Suggs on his minutes limit, both 2.5, James Harden 2.2, Tyrese Halliburton 1.8. That's about it. 1% owned. Tobias Harris, sub 1%. Tyrese Maxey. It's about right. Kruger's was asking here, would you rather Bam or Vooch? That's a very good question. I'm a pretty big fan of Bam against the Hornets tonight.
So Vooch projects slightly better for me for about a fantasy point and a half more. At I think it's $200 less off the top of my head, but still for me, make sure you follow correlation rules in that case. So what I mean by that is if you have Giannis, it is Vooch. If you don't have Giannis, you can go either way. You don't need to take Giannis if you take Vooch. You don't need to make an additional 12K investment because you've made this 8. So follow rules of correlation. Vooch will be higher owned. Bam has a very large upside in this spot. Sans Lowry against Charlotte. So meh. I'm fairly meh on that. I see the merit to both sides, but it would depend on the rest of my lineup. And whoever locks later, which is one's a half hour later, right? Just trying to make sure I remember this. So breaking news, I'm going to interrupt this. I am going to have trouble not very strongly recommending hammering in. I don't know if Rimpack is still here. Rimpack, say something in the chat if you're still listening. I'm going to have a lot of trouble not strongly recommending Simpson and Kalaitzakis. This is obviously trying to project G League players and basically their first NBA action against a Portland team that itself is not incredibly consistent and has questionable starters, and not knowing whether or not they're going to play 25 or 30 minutes, and all the rest of that shit makes this an incredibly difficult task. That said, I have Simpson as the better of the two. So if you can't fit 2 3Ks into your lineup, which would not be unsurprising, I have Simpson as the better of the two. I think they are both owned. I think they're both owned. I don't know what they're both owned, but I will go with 17% on Simpson and 13% on Kalaitzakis. I think they're both probably great plays.
Well, I have some unfortunate news for myself. I guess the first thing I would say, more on topic to what you were discussing.
Did you see your facial hair in the mirror?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Kalaitzakis not available on DK.
Yes, he is.
He is?
I'm 90% sure he is.
Maybe I need to refresh.
I really thought
did they add a midday? When is that game? 8?
I only have, he is in my sheet, which is a DK poll. Somebody help me out here. I'm going to the chat for the first time in like a
they put him in midday.
Okay.
See, I had the slate loaded up hours ago, and so he wasn't in mine.
He is showing as a buck. For me, he shows as on OKC against POR.
I see him. I went to a turbo lineup. He's in there.
Yeah. And I think they are priorities. I think they're priorities even. Like, I honestly think if I can at this point, my lineup structure at this point is I haven't locked anything. I'm playing monsters and those two guys and leaving the Nance Willie spot open. Like, that's what I'm trying to build. Like, you can obviously get to any number of other things, but those... I am going to have trouble if they start. I cannot, and they run 8 or 9 players. I cannot see them projecting for less than 28 or 29 minutes, just given number of guys and even, and that's as a median, and I'm giving them conservative. And if they project for 22 or 24 a piece, which I think is roughly what you'll get for Kalaitzakis at about 22 and Xavier at about 24. And I think I'm being conservative, and they're playing Portland. And I think more people than should just sort of throw up their hands. But, Waters is interesting too. I need to see who they're starting.
So, because I am a honest gentleman, I've got some backbone, Eddie.
This is a hell of a segue. Go ahead.
You did not notice, nor did anybody in the chat, because I know they would.
Did you mute yourself?
I did.
Oh my God! Did you try to speak?
I did. And so I wouldn't have brought it. I'm bringing it up. Nobody called me out, but if you go back, it's probably somewhere between minute 58 and like minute 61. It's bittersweet because I do enjoy what day we're on here. Obviously, we're well past the previous record. But if you take a look, Eddie.
Wow, nice. That's quite an accomplishment.
No better way for the streak to end than on day 69. We'll fix that later. It might be time to retire the count. We might have to put.
Yeah, we might have outplayed it. We might have gone too far. Jackson foul number 1. Put it on the board. They are coming. I don't want to bury the lead of your remarkable not talking while muted significance. I never mute during the show. You can see that I'm just making weird vape noises.
Yeah.
Like I don't.
Oh yeah, I usually.
I don't know what I did there. I've never done that before. So like I used to smoke cigarettes, shocking absolutely no one. And you can like hammer fist cigarette. I'll take this screwdriver as the closest approximate, where you can like put it through your fingers like this, and then like make a cup and like, and you will pass the fuck out if you're a lightweight like me. But like you will get some concentrated shit. Like you will fill up your lungs with all kinds of wonderness and go right the fuck over. And so I've never tried that with my vape before, and I just did it. And what happened was almost no vape came, but the actual fluid, somehow I got a mouth full of, but I got some actual vape juice through the thing into my mouth, which is incredibly strong. Okay. Sorry, I'm sitting here trying to talk. I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I'm dying. Jolly Rancher being infused directly into my brain. Can someone say about who these OKC guys are? Simpson, Xavier, spelled Zaiver, and the other one, I'll try this off my head, is George Kalitsakis, or something very close to that, Georges, Kalait.
Did you say GES? I think it's Georgios Kalitsakis.
Oh, those are George's.
No,
not
Georgios.
No, that was just George with the. Regardless, GK. Oh, forget it. You think I'm doing it wrong? Yeah, that's not how any of this works. You missed the play you were holding on to. Nance and someone. Larry Nance Jr. and Willie Hernan-Gomez. One of them or both of them will start for the Pelicans tonight. They're both very good fantasy producers. Willie is the better of them. Can you talk Sengun versus Keldon, please? Well, they're not asking me. So fuck you, Josh. That's fair. I would tell you what I think about Keldon versus Sengun tonight, but that's okay. I'll just fail to use my vape correctly.
I didn't want to get. There's a couple tags here that I missed. Steelers fan. He said his wife gets home right around lock, and he always puts a headphone in, and that we're going to cause a divorce. Yahoo. Dunn, Bruce Brown, and Bam, or Tyus, Keon, and Towns. I would lean towards the first one and take the chance that Brandon Williams is going to sit.
I would also.
DeRozan and Caruso. Oh, DeRozan, Caruso, and Giannis okay in the same lineup? Yes.
Yes. I spent 2 minutes on these are the okay ways to bet. Yeah, that's fine.
Can we go back to Trey Jones? Absolutely.
He's great. Play him too. Like I'm toying around with what was a full slate placeholder now, and again, it didn't enter, so I don't think I can edit it anymore. But I would literally play Trey Jones, both the Thunder guys.
Yeah.
The power forward value spot open and monsters. Just fucking monsters. Those 4 guys at 4K, 34, 3, 3, which leads you, I guess I can do the math in my head. 4 and 3 and 3 is 10. 3.4 would be 13.4. So you would have 4 spots and you would have 36.6. So you have 9,150 to spend on each of the other 4 spots. Quick maths. 2 plus 2. Quick maths.
Jake chimed in and said, in his opinion, you shouldn't be on Poku at all. He's projected to be massive chalk, and the Thunder have been notorious.
Get the fuck out of Poku at this point.
Yeah.
There's so many good plays on this slate. He's going to be really the fuck owned, and we have now introduced a very obvious floor. If he starts, I'm fine if you hold it. I would still end up under because now I think all the shit that's going on threatens him. But if he starts, if he doesn't start 0-0-0 for a third, that doesn't mean he can't get there. He can play 23 minutes off the bench against Portland at 50 fantasy points. Very possible, but he's going to be hugely owned. Go anywhere that play Roby. Jesus Christ, play Isaiah Roby. I was reading some excellent DFS coverage tonight that said I wouldn't even consider Roby on tonight's slate because my center spot is so valuable and I don't know if he has the upside, which is accurate, except in every way that it's 100% wrong. A, he's power forward eligible, and B, he literally put 55 on Portland not that long ago. So no, with that take, you don't have to play Isaiah Roby, but certainly at this point, I would have Roby in over Poku. I hope he's power forward eligible. I just did that bit off my head. So there has not been as much shit DFS content this year. One of my favorite pastimes is people send me stuff and they're like, look what this guy said. There hasn't been much of that. People haven't been sending it as much, I think, too, which is a shame. I don't have time to read other people's Duke. But yeah, I read that one. That was exciting.
Rinpack Pop Back Up said Simpson, Georgios, that is, Sar, Lindy, and who? I would say Vít Krejci probably.
Hold on, let me think this here. I think they will start.
Kalaitzakis is going to play the 4.
Probably. I think they will start Simpson, Krejci, Kalaitzakis. Well, we know they're going to start Simpson and Kalaitzakis. I think they will start Krejci. I think they're just going to super prioritize development. So I think it's Simpson, Krejci, Kalaitzakis. I'll go Wiggins and Sar.
Developing these players for other teams, of course, because when this team gets to where they want to go, none of these guys are going to be on the roster.
Of those 5 players, probably. I think Maledon can be a backup point guard on a playoff team. I think Pokusevski can be a backup scorer on a playoff team. But yeah, they're trying to get trade value out of them.
Sure.
They've shown what these. I mean, that is transparently what they are doing. I don't know if you noticed, they have 57 kids, and they have 308 first and second round picks in the next 4 years. Like, they have got to start taking these guys and packing them together and turning them into good players. I got 9 guys for you. Can I have CJ McCollum? Like, they literally just goes, there you go. I've it's like a bad game of Settlers of Catan. Can I squeeze 4 sheep together into a brick? Does that work?
Let's see. Yeah, so getting now to Josh's question, he did ask you earlier about Şengün versus Keldon.
So he's an impatient cunt who won't wait for a good answer. I understand. It's okay. It's fine, Josh. It's not like I've been there for you personally recently. You can't wait for me to get to your question. I'm just kidding. Keldon or whom?
Just Keldon versus Şengün, the merits of both. I think both are really good plays tonight, and shouldn't pick up a ton of ownership given their elevated price tags from what we're used to on those two guys. I mean, Keldon in this matchup where they're trying to win with no DeJounte, I would say both of them are priced correctly, but that doesn't take them out of consideration for me because I do still think they have upside to put up a good number at their price.
I would much rather Şengün.
Really?
I think Keldon is fine, but his ability to have an insane upside is lower. Şengün just does more stuff. I like Keldon Johnson, but he's a scorer. Keldon Johnson, like if you look at, I guess my point would be look at the peripheral difference between these guys. I bet I'm top of my heading this, but I think they each have 150 fantasy point game this year. And that's what you need out of them at this price on a slate this big tonight. You want to go win your $1 million, which is half the prize pool? Actually, that's a bad example because that's a small player pool. There's like 700 entries there. In that tournament, I might actually play Keldon. But if you're trying to get to some sort of really obscene upside, I'm going to play Alperen Şengün because Keldon does not get really steals or blocks or assists. He can get 50, but it's fucking 32 points and 14 rebounds and 2 other things. Şengün can do 32 points and 14 rebounds and 5 assists and 6 steals and 4 blocks. And like, I just, were I to like a lot of sites up, there it is.
Here we go. Blazers.
Oh my God, Horde and Roby in there. So we were 3 out of 5. No Wiggins, no Sarr, plus Horde, plus Roby. Simpson, Krejci, Kalitsaki. Interesting typing there. They're missing an F on that name.
Yeah.
Horde and Roby. You can go back to Horde now.
Yeah, Blazers also. Brandon Williams appears to be out. Chris Dunn, Keon Johnson, CJ Ellaby, Greg Brown, Drew Eubanks. We also did not cover Trae Young, Kevin Huerter, TLC, DeAndre Hunter, Clint Capella for the Hawks, KPJ, Jalen Green, Garrison Matthews, Jayshawn Tate, and Turk Nowitzki for the Rockets. Kyrie Irving, Patty Mills, Bruce Brown, Kevin Durant, Andre Drummond for the Nets, and Butler, Vincent, Strus, Tucker, Adebayo for the Heat.
Yeah. So here are my takes. Don't play Poku. Don't play Maladin. Don't play JRE. Don't play Sarr. I don't think you play anyone coming off the bench for this team. It's just not worth the risk when the starters are at the price they're going to be. Is there a chance that, like, especially the new kids play 17 minutes or get in foul trouble, which is something you see a lot? When you bring up guys from their first, like for their first NBA games as opposed to their first G League games, you have a greater tendency for just, Jesus Christ, I can't handle the pace of the fucking game. So you get a lot of foul trouble. So sure, again, I don't think I'm playing any non-starter. If you told me you wanted to play some Poku, I think it's a bad idea. Poku would be the full hands-off for me. You want to play some Teo Maladin, and that's fine. Xavier Simpson is a priority for me. He's probably the best play on the slate. No one else on this team can handle the ball on an NBA level. I don't know how well Xavier is. I'm not going to lie, guys. I do a lot of research. I'm a very well-read and educated man. But I cannot speak well at length to the grooming habits of... Sorry, I was going into a few good men there. But I cannot speak well at the talents of Xavier Simpson. I have seen him play basketball for a grand total of 38 seconds across one highlight clip, if memory serves. But he's going to start at point guard as the only decent ball handler on his team. Krejci isn't terribly good. Kalitsakis is a pure 3, if not a 3-4. So all those guys look great. I would rank them right now because of price: Simpson, Kalitsakis, Horde, Krejci, Roby. And they would be 10, 10, 9, 9, 9 would be my ranks on those 5 players.
Franz Wagner headed to the locker room.
Good for your Mo Wagner. Good for his bro, if you want to get there. So I would make those massive priorities. People are saying this guy, I would have to work on Jalen Horde for a second. I absolutely have Simpson and Kalitsakis way higher than Max Strus or Gabe Vincent. I will give you number projections on all these guys in 30-odd seconds. But let me futz for a minute here. Try to figure out some of this. They're like, he's not on DraftKings. I'm like, I actually got ahead of the ball on that one. I checked. Sit back here, Benny. Me.
That's what I get for not refreshing that page all day. Or at least before I download the player pool.
Those who are late do not get Fruit Cup.
Rank these values.
Oh, Christ. I'm not ready. Hold on. I'm trying to figure out this Thunder rotation and project everybody. This game isn't in 5 minutes. It's in 35 minutes. Right?
Correct.
Okay. Prioritize any questions that need to be answered in 5 minutes. I will interrupt what I'm doing to answer those questions. I'm absolutely fine to do that, but that
Brandon Ingram or Bam Adebayo?
Raw points, I have Ingram projected better. Bam is going to be lower owned, and again, it would come down to correlation. But just how many points they will score, I will take Brandon Ingram. You can put it on the board if you want, Zach. You can put it on the board.
Oh, what was it again? Sorry, I was reading questions.
I took Ingram over Adebayo. I'm just joshing you. I don't think he would take that. I assume everyone has him projected better. Maybe they don't.
Yeah, no, he does. For me, at least. Trey Jones, Vincent, and then Nance/Willie. That's the rank these values question. I mean, it depends on Jonas news.
I would rank the best of those plays now as if Jonas sits, whoever starts for this team, if they both start, which is not impossible, Willie over Lance. Nance. I said Nance. Was you thinking about that when Lance was dangling his dice on your forehead? What the fuck did I just hear?
All right.
It's Hollywood. Everybody's gay once in a while.
Kalaitzakis and Bruce Brown, or Lance and Waters? I think Nance and Waters? Clarify for me in 6A.
Lance has to be Nance.
That's because Bruce Brown is like, Bruce. No, well, he's already locked, and Bruce Brown. I guess Lindy Waters picked up a number now, but it's the first side for me. Bruce Brown and Georgios. Nance and a 3,400 guard bum not named Simpson versus Willie Hernan-Gomez and Gabe Vincent.
Probably the second one, unless you can name a good non-Simpson 30 to 3,300 guard, because I'm still trying to figure this out, and so I don't have a second to recheck my list.
Which studs are you going to jam in with OKC values? Any of them?
We're in a vacuum here. I have them all ranked very similarly. Okay, Trey ranks worse by points. He did put up 67 or whatever the hell it was against Toronto recently. That ceiling is there. He's going to be the lowest owned of them. You can get there, but obviously Embiid has started. Giannis, Durant, Towns, Siakam now, who's actually one of a few guys who actually plays better when he gets out to the 4. The ball handling picks up. Like when he starts at 5, he's actually a little bit worse for me, especially in GPPs there. Even Porzingis, all these guys per their dollars, and certainly DeRozan and Vooch all rank fairly similar. So it is more about correlation than me to answer your question. That being said, I am building the lineup we discussed, and I have thrown in Jokic, Anthony Davis, and DeMar DeRozan at the moment, and have some amount of money left over to fill the last spot.
Donovan Mitchell or Brandon Ingram single entry on DK.
Ingram.
Van Vliet and Roby, or Kevin Durant and Gabe Vincent.
First one.
N6A was typing out Nance, so that question was Kalaitzakis and Bruce Brown versus Nance and Lindy Waters. First one for me.
Same.
Greg Brown or Claxton?
Lindy Waters isn't starting, right?
No, I don't believe so.
Yeah, I'm not playing him. Like I just don't. He's also not the minimum anymore. Lindy Waters is $4,000 or $4. Like it doesn't. Like if you have no other double swaps to make, he might project a little better for me than maybe Kalaitzakis, but I don't think so. But generally, you want to play Kalaitzakis and not Lindy Waters. I just don't think those guys get owned enough. Maybe I'm tilting here. I'm going back in the news tank for the 90 seconds until the 7:30 lock.
Sure. So we had Şengün and Fred VanVleet, or Bam and Dunn. It's close. I think I lean the second side. Bam and Dunn.
My placeholder will also not lock anyone at 7:30, apparently. All Portland, OKC, trade, Nance. Like it's all, we're going to wait a while. It all locks at 8. The whole
Butler and Brow, or Giannis and Devin Vassell? I lean to the first side.
Butler and Brow, or Giannis and Devin Vassell? I would also lean to the first. I'm fine getting to Devin Vassell, sort of a one shot there, but you got to take guys with that sort of crazy upside.
Would you Şengün or Isaiah Roby at this point?
That's a great question. That's a great question. I'm going to have Şengün projected higher. So it's going to come down to how many Thunder guys are you playing? Playing both the 3Ks? Probably Roby. You playing anyone else? I probably move it to Şengün, but that's very close for me, and that's a good question. But obviously, Roby does have a very real upside and is not going to get to the ownership level he honestly should.
Mo Bamba doing his thing, 5 for 5 from 3.
How about Mo? Is he really? He does that once in a while. He's great for a big guy. How is it's a good thing we need to have his $2 card for the challenge. They announced a challenge today, which is if you're a serious collector, kind of shit. It's just way too easy. It's like, oh, sweet. I can come up with some garbage.
Some news here. Russell Beasley, Edwards, Vandy, and Towns for the Wolves. Giannis listed available to play as expected. Brandon Williams officially ruled out. Zach LaVine expected to play tomorrow, and the Bulls will start Ayo Dosunmu, Alex Caruso, DeMar DeRozan, Pat Williams, and Nick Vucevic.
Yeah, that wasn't shocking for me. You want to go a little bigger, get another defender in there at that size. Okay, I will reproject my Thunder and then move on to the Bulls for a second. But nothing there is going to radically change anything for me. All right. Yep. Guess who's the best play on my slate right now? All right. I think I have a solid OKC lineup now. I don't know, but solid. That's ridiculous. But I'm gonna go with this. As far as value versus expected, the order they came up was Simpson, Kalitsakis, Horde, Krejci, Roby. So I think that's the order I listed them in. So it's very nice when the numbers match up with the shit I pulled out of my ass. Yeah, I have Xavier Simpson for 31 minutes and 29 fantasy points. That's very good for the floor. I have Georgios Kalitsakis for 30 minutes and 25 3/4 fantasy points. That's incredibly good for the floor. I have Jalen, and all these guys have an upside. I just know less about those guys, but Jalen Horde came in third, and there's a real upside there. He obviously just had a monster game not that long ago, playing against a couple G Leaguers and having Poku out of there and no man there and not Maladon. Yeah, that guy can fucking go. So you can certainly get there with him at 4,300, who I currently have for 31 minutes and 29 3/4 fantasy points. Beat Krejci Force. I have him up at 34 minutes and 29 3/4 fantasy points. And Isaiah Roby, I have it 30 minutes. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know who plays between JRE and SAR. Sometimes they've played those guys next to each other. Lindy Waters, for me, the worst player on the team. That's, well, yes. But they're all playable. You can play until we find out these guys won't suit up. That's the real issue with playing those guys now. They might not play. Like JRE might not play. He might play 15 minutes. He might play 20 minutes. Olivier Sarr might not play. Like they might have seen enough. He's not starting. Sarr might not play. Like, you got to be really careful at this point. So ear to the ground, and I will be doing ample searching over the next half hour trying to figure it out a little bit. Is there a later ownership do you want to do? There should not be too much.
Yeah, we can run through that. So just trying to clear through the DMs that piled up here over the show.
I'll check all my DMs on Twitter and Discord. Let me know when you're ready.
It's out of all the things that I do while we're streaming here, that is the one that I can improve on the most, I think, is getting into the DMs.
It's funny. It's even harder to do this job than it is to DFS, believe it or not, because you have so little control over. There's so many things you need to do. Like at any given time, I want to be checking the news, listening to you, checking the chat, checking the other chat, reprojecting lineups based on news that's coming in, checking some video occasionally, researching G League shit, whatever. There's just always like you're constantly making a decision between the 6 things you should be doing. And it's actually fairly hard to do well. Unless you just read a spreadsheet on your show, and then it's not really hard to do. Next, I have him.
I'll say if you add in managing
managing a whole sports book by yourself. You're welcome for that job. I gave Zach a job. I gave Zach the best paying job he's ever had, and he hates me.
All right, ownership on these 3 games, that being
there's like nobody over 20, right? Like it's all low.
Nobody over 20 is correct. The Rockets, Nets, Hornets, Heat, Hawks, Raptors.
Low Trey. Low. I'll try Bruce Brown. I haven't really thought this through, but we're in a hurry. Bruce Brown.
Bruce Brown's second by 0.2.
Bullshit. It's not any of the studs, I don't think. Gary Trent.
Gary Trent, number 1, yes, sir.
Okay. And they're both teens, obviously, somewhere in there. I'll just read it the fuck out. This is
13 for each of those guys. Bam Adebayo right behind them, 12.5. Gabe Vincent, 12.5. Şengün, 10.5. KD at 10. Jimmy Buckets and a half, 7.5 for his teammate Max Strus, 6.5 for Fred Van Vliet, 6% for Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr., 5.5 for Pascal Siakam, 5 for the Drum Dog, 4.5 for Nick Claxton and Tyler Hero, 4% for Kyrie Irving, Josh Christopher, 3% Scotty Barnes, Cam Thomas, 2.5 for Garrison Matthews, Trae Young, 2%. That's about all the notables we have from those three.
Wow.
You
Crazy.
can relate that. Let's see. Wiggins didn't start, right?
He did not. It was one of the two I got wrong. I had Sarr and Wiggins. What's going on with what is his name? Mamadi Diakite. Didn't he end up on this team?
No longer.
Oh, okay. He got waived or whatever?
Yeah, he's been gone for
ended up here somehow.
For a month or so.
No, I missed it. Yeah.
I was kind of surprised that they didn't. I thought he had completely taken the spot of Olivier Sarr at the time, and then I was surprised when Sarr showed back up from the G League. Not totally on top of my OKC Blue roster moves.
Do you know the etymology of that name? For I do not.
I do not either. No.
Well, let's find out. Chat.
I always thought it was just the Thunder are blue. I don't know. We've got a couple of Oklahoma
Blue Thunder,
like
my Blue Thunder, my Blue Lightning. I'm trying to.
I don't know.
I'm out here, guy.
Unsurprisingly, Franz Wagner will not return.
Shocking.
Heading to the locker room, and the
Bucks. Or if he was actually injured. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe he was hurt, or they're like, "Shit, is the game competitive?" They might have invented an injury. They might have been like, "What? We're close. Get him out of there."
No surprises for the Bucks.
You pulled a hamstring. I feel fine, coach. You pulled a hamstring. Okay. Basically how it's going.
Drew Holiday, Wes Matthews, Chris Middleton, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Brook Lopez for Milwaukee. Appreciate you, the boys in the chat, posting that lineup there.
What was it again? Hit me with it one more time.
Drew, Wes Matt, Middleton, Giannis, Lopez.
Okay. I really just want news because, I think Roby could be an absolute stunner in the event we get news that, these are the guys who won't play.
Mm-hmm.
So. I love the fact that they're playing Portland, and so this is one of those. I wish it was a fly on the wall. There was a great call from the front office to somebody, which was like, "We have a problem. We might win this game.
Yeah,
I've got a plan. You know that big Greek motherfucker? Let's get him up here." I don't know how. I really wonder how direct the conversation is. Is it literally? I'm worried we win this game because I think they are tied for ping pong balls with the Thunder. Am I right there that they both have exactly 20 wins?
It's
the Thunder with the Magic, rather. Sorry, that they are tied with.
Yes, correct. Houston and Orlando are tied for the one.
It's Houston and Orlando.
Yeah.
Okay, where's the Thunder on this?
Who you said? Oh yeah, the Thunder are 3.5 games back now.
Oh, Jesus. They're 3.5 back or ahead, really, but back.
Well, the Pistons were tied with those bottom two, and they
got
won
the
three
win.
in a row.
Yeah,
3 in a row.
Crazy.
Jake asking, Chris Dunn is kind of interesting. What would it? That reminds me, I need to.
It's very interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, I like him a lot now. Like I don't know if I'm getting there over fucking Trey, but I'm not dismissing the possibility at ownership. Like, give me a sec on Chris Boy, but he's gonna look very good to me at this point. I think it's just the price got too high.
Yeah, it's 4.8 now compared to Trey's
so
4 flat.
That was the thing. But like he's gonna project higher than Trey. Give me a minute, I'll give you a projection on the two guys. I got Trey, 30 or give or take. I have Trey Jones at 29 and 3/4, and I have Chris Dunn at 31 and 3/4. So I have him for 2 fantasy points higher. So if you have $800, you're not doing anything with. And by the way, the ownership difference is literally going to be 50% to 3.
Mm-hmm.
So, I like Chris Dunn if you can make that happen, Kevin. I like it a lot.
Let's see. Favorite captain for a large field DK tournament showdown for the Bucks and the Bulls. T Panther says he can provide a screenshot of the captain salaries if need be.
Do it. Do it.
Hard in there, T Panther.
Do it. Do it. You can't wait for OKC to completely fuck everyone in there now. Like, it's gonna be really hard.
She said.
I also just don't think enough people are gonna. Can you rattle off the OKC projections in chat? Yep. But they're good. It's gonna be really hard. Like, we don't know who they're going to rest, and I can come up with reasons for them to rest any of the guys who aren't starting. Mm-hmm. And there's at least 4 good starters by value. So like, I don't think there is any reason to get incredibly crazy, but. Let's go with this as the final. One more news check. All right, here's my most recent run. This is in order of value versus expectancy, and I will give you my guess at their ownership as I do it as well. So here's literally all of it, which again, you're supposed to pay for. So you freeloaders on YouTube, I'm looking at you, but we're short on time.
At least they stuck around.
That's true. You hung out, which I appreciate. God knows I'm annoying to listen to for 1 hour, let alone 2. Here we go. I have Xavier Simpson as the best play on the team. I have him currently at 31 minutes, 28.75 fantasy points, and 18% ownership. I have Georgios Kalatakis as the second best, and it is Georgios, by the way. You had me right there. It's iOS. Kalatakis as the second best play on the team. I have him at 29 minutes, 24 and 3/4 fantasy points, and 14% ownership. I have Jalen Horde as the third best play on the team. I have him at 30 minutes, 28 1/4 fantasy points, and 9% ownership. I have Vit Krejci as the fourth best play on the team. I have him at 34 minutes, 28 1/4 fantasy points, and 6.5% ownership. And I have Isaiah Roby at 30 minutes, 33 3/4 fantasy points, and 5% ownership. I have Lindy Waters off the bench currently at 24 minutes and 26 fantasy points. He's an absolutely effective scorer, guard forward eligible. If you wanted to play a guy off the bench, I think that's my guy. I just think there is a non-zero chance he doesn't play, which is my concern. But if we get news, this is our rotation, my next guy who's going to project well is there. And then JRE and Sarr, I've kind of thrown my hands up at. JRE, Sarr, and Wiggins are kind of off limits for me right now. I have them currently at 15 minutes, 21 minutes, and 20 minutes respectively to fill out. But those are my projections for this evening's Oklahoma City Thunder. Lindy or Krejci straight up. Right now, I'm going to play Krejci because I don't know if Lindy plays. You think Lindy has to get more than 24?
Yeah, I think Lindy is absolutely going to play.
I think he will very likely play.
Yeah.
I just think there are... I like him less than all 5 starters. Or like maybe you can argue Krejci, or like I don't get going to Waters over Horde, I guess is where I'm...
Sure, I also agree with that. I just think it's probably no Wiggins, no Maladin, no Poku, right? And so it's the 5 starters plus Lindy and Sarr.
I think they play at least 8 players. If they don't, you're going to want like 4 of them. Like,
I just don't know why you take... I mean, I understand why, but like to get Maladin, Wiggins, and Poku or any of them out of the starting lineup when we have this rhetoric that they're going to not play all 10 guys that are active.
Yep.
I just think that's to me a pretty sure sign that they will DNP. Because the Thunder did.
I think I was looking at it too mathematically. I think your logic there is good. Like, these were starters. You're now going to play them off the bench, or you just play the other 7 guys.
Yeah. I mean, those are
they may play JRE and earlier, but you're right. I agree. Waters almost certainly plays.
Well,
I think I was too abstract.
I think those are the 3 guys that they have on their roster. Oh, plus JRE that are actually a part of the future. Would you trade Jones or Io? I would still trade.
I would still trade. There's just especially if we're like, I think collectively speaking to the several hundred people listening to me at the moment across all channels, the way you get difference is by getting to more Thunder than other people. Some people will, not enough people will. You want 2 members of the Oklahoma City Thunder at a bare ass minimum. They should probably be, because of the preponderance of amazing studs, the 2 3K guys. Unless I have massively fucked what the ownership is on these guys, and it's kind of my thing. They're so good against Portland. Like, it's against Portland. Like, the rest of Mega, like, now, I don't know what the line is on the game now. It's got to be, like, 0. Like, I don't know how you favor any team here. And regardless, it's an absolute crap pull. I would hate to work in Vegas right now. Can you imagine trying to come up with a line on this game? Okay, one team is starting the popcorn guy and like.
Yeah. Here's T-Panthers posted the captain and utility salaries here for Bucks and Bulls. Obviously, Giannis sitting up there in his own tier. And then you've kind of got DeMar with Drew and Chris, and a step down then to Vooch.
So by projection, you're going to want to play Giannis, DeMar, and Vooch. Those are the 3 guys who, relative to their salary, are going to absolutely crush you. If you're saying what is your play after those guys, it's probably Dosunmu. So I would say like your cute plays here are Dosunmu, Pat Williams, or Alex Caruso. Your common sense plays are Giannis, DeRozan, and Vooch.
Yeah, I'm messing around just with different combinations here. I think I would go ahead in one lineup and captain Giannis.
Yeah, I'm not going to take the time to go full build on it, but that is my guess.
There's enough.
2 fouls on Drummond. Did we Claxton? We liked Claxton. Get it in there. You bet way too many Poku props earlier. Hope he doesn't play. They'll be void, right?
Yeah.
The way that works, just hope he doesn't step on the court.
Yep.
Did they answer Lindy versus Krejci for you? At this point, I think I would play Lindy. I think your logic was solid enough, Zach. How many OKC is too many OKC? Probably not an amount the site will legally put in your lineup.
Yeah. I don't think
probably you don't want Roby and another spend up and the 2-3K. Like, so the answer is probably 4 is too much if one of them is Roby. 4 is otherwise acceptable. You're laughing.
We can get to this after this 8 p.m. lock here, but Eddie, Top Shot, sending fans to every single playoff game from round 1 to the last game of the finals, watch parties for collectors hosted in select cities as the playoffs progress, 3 separate access unlocked exclusive fan experiences throughout the playoffs, the launch of playoff captains to level up our community with monthly grants and support from the Top Shot team, NBA League Pass for eligible international fans to enjoy the playoff action abroad, plus more. Link to come. We'll check that out here in about 11 minutes.
That's when the link comes?
No, I'm just saying
that's when we get off air, you and I will talk about it. Yeah, okay, gotcha.
You're actually frozen for me. Oh, no, now you're just delayed for me.
I'm just that slow. I'm old. I'm like a sloth. I'm moving. It's just, the aperture speed can't keep up with my...
All right, well, we are under 10 minutes until this 8 p.m. lock, that being the Bucks and Bulls, the Wiz and the Wolves, the Blazers and Thunder.
Are you worried about AD versus the Suns? Yes, I'm worried about AD versus the Suns. I'm worried about AD being Anthony Davis and getting hurt, and he's just still incredibly underpriced. So let's say there's let's throw numbers at these. Let's say there's
Yeah.
a 10% chance they get so fucking wrecked that they're out of there because it's a non-LeBron terrible Lakers team against a Phoenix team that, as of now, isn't resting anyone. So they should get absolutely shit destroyed in 3 quarters. So let's say we only get 28 minutes out of Anthony Davis. Okay, some significant portion of the time. And then there's like an additional 10% chance that bullshit happens, as in they're just giving up at this point. They figure they may as well maximize their draft stock. So they just give the hell up. I would still really like Anthony Davis at his DraftKings price, and I would probably lock him at his FanDuel price, especially with the FanDuel scoring. It's just absurd. I apologize for not getting to that until 7:51, but I would probably just lock him in on FanDuel. I can't get away from that number. I think a conservative projection for Anthony Davis on FanDuel tonight is like 51 fantasy points for 7,600. I don't know how you get, like, he's going to be very owned. I understand your concern. I think I'm getting in there.
Did you touch on, sorry, I was back in the DMs there. Did you touch on his 7.6 FanDuel price tag?
I did. I said on FanDuel I'd probably lock him. I think I'd 100% it. Like, he will be. My point is, let's assume he's 80% owned. Knowing what I know right now, I'd want to be north.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Now, again, I don't put in as much time on FanDuel. I don't know all the, maybe there's a nuance here. I don't, whatever. But yeah, I just can't get away from it, kids. Something needs to go squirrely or he's phenomenal. And there's a big chance something goes squirrely. It's Anthony Davis in a game that has to have, like, I'll guess like a 12 or 13 point line. It's got a big ass line.
Yeah.
And I just still, like, if you told me right now he's going to play 28 minutes, I'd still consider locking it. Like, literally, if you said he will play 28 minutes, I'd be like at 28 minutes, he would project for about 40. This $7,600 guy who projects for 40, I'd really consider extensively. So
the part of the Philly contingent here at FTN chiming in, Anthony saying that Lance just took a cheap shot on Joel Embiid.
Did he? Man,
if anybody gets a clip of that,
killed.
Yeah, let me see a clip of that if anybody's got it handy.
You must be crazy.
Lakers don't have a first in 2022, right? I don't think the Lakers have a first until 2030.
The Lakers need to do better for the pick that they lose. They have a pick that goes through to the Wizards. Whatever. I forget what the fucking thing is, but they want to win. Them losing makes their pick more likely to go, and they lose a first instead of 2 seconds. And there's something there. Someone will be able to find a blurb because this is a frequently discussed topic. But there is the Lakers do not want to lose for a pick is the point, which is my fault. I indicated a minute ago maybe they would want to, but they don't. They do not have a bonus from losing, I don't think, other than maybe next year improved second rounder or some shit like that. But
wasn't a bad hit on him. Drive to the basket, hit him in the face, then did a dance that he didn't expect a foul to be called on him. Sounds like Lance. Malik Beasley or Jalen Horde? I would Jalen Horde.
I'm going to Jalen Horde because of the matchup. Again, if he's your 4th Thunder, now you're having an interesting conversation. But with Beverly out, Beasley is going to project pretty well. I have Beasley at 27.5 minutes and 22.5 fantasy points. For comparison, I have Jalen Horde for 7 more fantasy points. Now, I have Jalen Horde much higher owned. I'm really curious how much these guys get owned.
This is wild to me. Joel Embiid has played 14 minutes. He's taken 11 shots. He's made 7 of them. No free throw attempts. Especially against this Pacers team. I mean, unless they're just playing some wonderful Matador defense on Embiid, which they must be if they only, Isaiah Jackson has 2 fouls. Lance has 2. Nobody else has more than 1. Only 6 total fouls on the Pacers with 5 minutes.
He's not taking a free throw is crazy. They're not even shooting fouls, by the way. Like, I'm looking at the box score right now. Harden has taken 2 free throws.
That's it.
Yep. That's one of the reasons they're only up 12. But this
nice. I knew Philly would come in here. Here's the Lance clip Tyreek posted.
Oh, good.
And I do see the question, Tyreek. Why did he dance? Oh, because he finished the. Yeah, it was just with his offhand.
I love Jackson got 2 fouls, which weren't shooting fouls on Embiid at least.
Yeah.
So, like, where he posted them and he went, "Oh my god, I can't handle the size of this dude." Like, I really want to see the fouls on Isaiah Jackson because I'm gathering it was probably Embiid getting the ball and him being like, "Fire!" Okay, if you gave me $1,000 and said, "Okay, here's the deal: we're gonna give Joel Embiid the ball at the free throw line against you 100 times, and you need to make him get under 95 baskets or something."
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'd hurt that man so badly. I'm sorry, I hit you again. Like, I would just be constantly slapping at the ball to try to like.
Tyreek was asking if you have Xavier Simpson and Lindy Waters in a lineup already, would you get another Thunder player in the utility spot, or would you leave flexibility for the potential J-Val absence?
I've done both. Presuming you can't do both, I'd probably take the Thunder player. It's close at that point, but I probably take the Thunder player. It's really weird. I'd need to see the rest of your lineup, and it depends what other double swaps you would have if J-Val is in and how bad they would look for you. So without seeing every guy in the lineup, it's hard for me to tell. But in a vacuum, I presume I would more frequently take the Thunder guy. I also don't think people realize the upside on Anthony Davis tonight. Like, we're also focused on the downside. We've been hurt before, and I'm ready to be hurt again. But
T-Pain with a 3v3 here for the turbo slate that locks in 2 minutes. DeMar DeRozan, Roby, and D'Angelo Russell, or Vooch, Karl Anthony Towns, Denny Avdia. He's got Simpson, Krejci, Kalaitzakis, Giannis, and Dunn as his other pieces. So 3 Thunder, Chris Dunn, and Giannis.
I'd go with the first one.
I agree. That would be DeMar DeRozan, Isaiah Roby, and D'Angelo Russell.
Yep.
I do think so, Anthony. I think LeBron will get out there for 2 more games and win the scoring title.
Or he'll try to hold off fucking...
I think he's...
How much is he ahead of...
It's only like 0.2, but unless Doc is going to run Embiid out here in the fourth quarter, I don't think that and I know Philly will come for me here and say we don't blow anybody out, but up 15, 4 minutes to go in the first half. I think there's a good chance Embiid doesn't, scores right around 30, 32 points tonight and doesn't see the floor in the fourth.
How much is LeBron up on him by?
Let me make sure. I think it's 0.2.
I think if they lose tonight, LeBron does not play again.
It's 0.1. I just think LeBron cares so much about that shit.
I don't know how much he cares. And how many scoring titles does he have?
I mean, he wants to.
He only has 2 scoring titles, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I could be totally wrong on this. I want to say he has 2 scoring titles.
This would be his second, I believe.
This would be his second. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's LeBron to me is just that guy who wants to leave his mark in every way possible. And
you're seeing about 14% AD on DK. Does that sound about right? Yeah, that's where I expect that to land, and I like it more than that. Like, I get the concern. That's fine. Okay.
So wait, apparently Embiid now really doing his thing after that shot from Lance, up to 19 points, 4 boards.
Yeah, and they're up by 18 in the second quarter. Like, they're gonna. That was one of my issues with Embiid. Like, again, he's at 19 and 4. That's fine, but I spent the first 15 minutes soliloquy on the show being like, hey, there's a Maxey finally doing it. I tried to pull this exact spot like 2 weeks ago. Maxey with 18, 2, and 4.
6 threes.
And a block, 6 threes. So, like, yeah, Maxey getting there. Tough to get to that spot, but
Top Shot Challenge.
Yep. Need a Maxey. He's got a 60K or whatever. So it's just, again.
Well, we did reach 8 o'clock,
Oh,
so we can take another run through the ownership on the 3 games that just locked, and then
I hope I was right about this. I'm really nervous about those OKC numbers that I was prognosticating. I'm worried that it gets way above that, and this is going to be a hell of a test for exactly how people get into the numbers on something. But I'm still sticking with those guys, not getting much over 20, if at all. If these guys get up to, they should be owned. Let me rephrase. If this slate was owned perfectly, those guys should be owned 50%, give or take. Maybe 60 for Xavier and 40 for Georgios. I still think they're going to be well under that. I said like 19, 16 before. I'm hoping I'm not massively off, but I am ready when you are.
Don't look at the chat.
Don't?
We are ready over here.
Okay, I'm not looking. I have blocked the chat. It's just you and me.
Huh. Just how I like it.
Mm.
So the 3 games here.
I know these 3. Portland and OKC, Chicago and Milwaukee, and the Wizards and Timberwolves, which we didn't touch on much. There wasn't like a ton to do there, but it would have been worth saying like all 3 of the main Timberwolves guys were fine GPP exposure. Towns probably the best of them, but they were just all
Beasley as well. Getting the start.
Yeah, Beasley actually. Which I specifically gave a projection for him, which feels a little bit better. But they, they are all still just underpriced. Most of the other guys in the bust out matchups, the non-value guys, are priced appropriately or even overpriced a little bit. Those guys are all just still too cheap. Or like Towns is appropriately priced. Edwards is close to appropriately priced. D'Angelo is just too cheap. So those guys all had real upside against the Wizards. I just think there's, again, a chance that they just bludgeon the piss out of them.
Tyrese Maxey, 7 of 9 from 3, 2 minutes to go in the first.
7 of 9. I love me a good Borg. Okay.
All right. Highest owned player from those 3 8 p.m. games.
Xavier.
Yeah, Xavier number 2.
That's such good news. I don't know who number 1 is. It's not going to be Georgios. It doesn't make any. Well, I guess it could be. I'll say Georgios because it should be, but I don't think that. Maybe it's. Hold on. It's Georgios, DeMar. Chris Dunn will get some real ownership at this point and should in the matchup. It's one of those 3, right?
It's one of those 3.
Okay. I'll try DeMar.
DeMar number 3.
I'll try Chris Dunn.
Chris Dunn number 1.
Wow. Like, I like Chris Dunn. I have Chris Dunn for like a point projected higher than Xavier.
Dude, the fact that he got above the entire Thunder team is
it's astounding
wild
to me.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong. I like Chris Dunn. Brandon Williams not playing. He's going to get 32. I'm a big Chris Dunn fan. Like I've written one article this year, and it led with Chris Dunn. Like one article.
His Will Smith-esque hands. I remember it well.
Fast hands. Chris Dunn, literally of all the players in the NBA who have played at least 100 games over the last 5 years, has the 4th highest steal rate. There's a real upside. These numbers are all too low, by the way.
Oh my God. By the way, I'm just gonna say as we go through this, or as I look through the ownerships here, this is the day that I have missed playing DFS the most.
Yeah, this is an absolute slaughter spot. These guys are all going to... Chris Dunn is the highest owned. I'll go... These guys are all going to be under-owned.
Yep.
That's what you meant, right? That's what your comment meant. Like, you wish you could play because people fucked this.
Yeah, and some people are over-owned.
Really?
Some people who may not play.
Oh, there's going to be fucking whatever percent Poku. There's going to be, I'll start with that. I will say Poku is owned. Started the day I had him close to 30. I was going to chip down all day, but I'll say Poku's 9% owned.
10.65.
Oh, God, 11%. There's your rake back, everyone. Enjoy.
Yep.
I'd say he's 20% to touch the court. That's about where I'd put that number. Okay, so Chris Dunn highest. 24.
Yeah, 26. Right there.
This is so good. Yeah, he's better than that. Not much better, by the way. I mean, there were a lot of really good options in that range, but Chris Dunn now projects for whatever 32 minutes and 32 fantasy points, or maybe even a little better. Let me give you my most recent Dunn number. Not that it matters, but
Anthony noting that Embiid now going for 30 in the first half at this rate. He's up to 26 real points. That he did get an and one, converted the free throw, and the the Sixers are now leading by 24 with 45 seconds to go. So
yep, that's part of my concern. Like, hopefully he's gonna, like, no jokes, I think dude's gonna put, like, this was the most likely of the studs to blow out.
Yep,
in my opinion. I guess you could argue Durant, but I don't know. They can't fucking stop anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm kind of like, I saw someone say, like, KPJ is going out. Yeah, Brooklyn's up 5. They can't stop anyone.
Yeah,
their defense has been really poor. Anyway,
I thought that, I don't have a bet slip on FTN bets, but I would have taken the Rockets and the 17 points today.
I would have too.
Yeah,
Brooklyn has struggled to stop some really poor defenses. Like, we should have talked more about Jalen Green and KPJ a little bit. I think like that they're priced up a little bit, but I like them both. I think I slightly preferred Green. Green has 40 or more fantasy points and 30 or more real points in 5 consecutive games.
Yeah,
I don't think the Nets are going to be the one to stop that shit. There's just so many great plays, and then I think this pushes you into a little bit more stars and scrubs, and I think it was appropriate to spend that time on the Thunder. But go ahead and just read this out. I'm just gonna sit back and make sure the camera isn't tilted so low that my erection is completely obvious to the people. Yes, you and I, both professionals in the industry, not allowed to play DFS legally, are not allowed to take advantage of this, but this is going to be glorious.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Let me hear it. Like, Chris Dunn, you're saying is 25 or whatever you said?
Yeah, so Chris Dunn.
He's probably better than that, but he's at 4,800 now. He projects for north of 30, and there's a real ceiling there. I don't know what like. Here, I'll give you a chance to put a board bet. I'll take over 3.5 steals.
For Chris Dunn?
Yes, just Chris Dunn.
Yeah, I have to take it. But but to illustrate like how good Chris Dunn is with those hands, that's not a lock.
He's going to project. No, he's going to project right now for 2.7. Like, I'm going really high on this to try to give you a point. I was going to say a little under 2.5, but I think even higher than that. I think per 36, he averages over those years one of the highest rates in the NBA. It's like 2.4. And then you have to adjust for the turnover frequency of fucking Georgios Kalaitzakis.
Yeah, like, it's right there. Per 36 is 2.3.
2.3, right. So counting the matchup as per 36 is probably 2.8, guessing on exactly how that would extrapolate. Per 36, he's probably only going to play 31, 32 minutes, but he's going to project for 2.5 steals. And they could be that bad that I'm not, like, I'm a dog. That was one too many. But I think my man's getting to 4 steals. So,
I will take that bet. And, probably not show up tomorrow, and Chris Dunn has 5 steals tonight.
What can I say? I've had a magical year.
You had a magical week and a half is what you've had.
It's all a blur for me. It's so good.
Oh, let's see. Okay, so back to reading out these.
Just go, and I'm just going to sit back and enjoy myself.
Yeah, Chris Dunn, 26. Xavier Simpson, second there at 24. DeMar DeRozan, third, 22.5. Then you're dropping down to 17% for both Georgios Kalaitzakis and his countryman, Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Ah, nice.
D'Angelo Russell, 15.5. 15.5 for Vooch, or 14.5, for Vooch. 14 for Pat Williams. 13.5 for Jalen Horde. 10, or we'll round up to 11 for Ant Edwards. 10.6 on Alexei Pokusevsky. 10 on Karl Anthony Towns. 9% on Kobe White. 8% on Vit Krejci. 6% on Isaiah Roby. Scrolling. 6% on Greg Brown. That is insanity on this slate.
Yeah, I like Greg Brown a lot, but like, he will not make all his 3-pointers again. Like, he's not a bad play, but on this slate, I guess it's 6%. That's actually not insane. It's 6%. Like, he's not going to be in my top 20 value plays, but it's still not insane.
12 games with the value that we have.
Yeah, it's just also matchup for them. Like, he can pick up blocks and steals and do all sorts of, like.
And Greg can also foul out in 13 fucking minutes. He's just not He's just not an NBA player.
Okay, man. Take it. Mrs. Brown, I'm sorry that he's coming at your boy. I still love you.
Alex Caruso, 5.5. Io DeSumo at 5. Josh Christopher, 4. Porzingis, 3.5. Keon Johnson, 3.5. KCP, Ish Smith, Cam Thomas, Jared Vanderbilt, Malik Beasley, all 3%.
Where's Maladin? Did I miss Maladin? I'm looking for
No,
the under
Aaron
overlay.
Wiggins, 2.4. Maladin, 1.83.
Yeah, so there's like
Olivier Sarr, 1.6. That's not bad. I would run that over Greg Brown all day. And I don't like Olivier Sarr very much.
I did take you for a nasty bet on that one. I was like, Olivier Sarr over this and he career high. Sheesh.
No, Anthony, just for anybody wondering, Eddie and I are back tomorrow. We'll have this slate, 6-gamer, I believe. But I think we should be with you for another 2 hours tomorrow. Dylan Brooks confirmed out, as expected here, for the Grizzlies. Apparently Xavier Simpson, immediate foul. Don't worry, he's got 5 more.
You're going to get them.
Uh-huh. Well,
we are 24 seconds into that game, so they weren't kidding when they said immediate foul. I'm fascinated to watch this game now.
Yeah. I think I'll have to quad box here on the League Pass on one of the screens. But we are just over the...
I'm just going to quad monitor.
There you go. Just full screen
boxes.
4 games.
Big boxes.
The way to do it. I mean, this may be my last chance of the season because Sunday I am out. This might be my last chance of the season to watch all like 11 games at once on my screens here. Might have to fire that up. We'll see. All right, everybody. A little over 2 hours here on live with Fast Eddie Fear. Still some games to lock. Obviously, some news we're waiting on. So we will be with you in the FTN Premium Discord channel, reacting to any changes that come our way. And it is April, so we can count on that. Again, you can sign up.
Xavier Simpson immediate bucket, by the way.
There you go. There you go. Right after the foul. So, hey, as long as he keeps putting numbers up in the box score, I think we're going to be happy. Anthony pointing out, or more of a question, I guess, are we going to go all year with no trivia night? Maybe we fire that up next week, Eddie, during the play-ins?
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. We should come up with some extra spicy something, if you will.
Oh, extra spice.
Yeah.
Did you open your LeBron reward?
I did. It was a LeBron. That's new for me in like a week. Just
Yeah.
opening LeBrons left and right.
Yeah, and Tyreek pointing out the WNBA on the horizon here. So
Georgios Kitsalakis makes a layup. It's all happening, kids. Here we go. These two guys go for like fucking 50.
Yeah.
I'm gonna. Greg Brown makes a layup. Ha ha! Chris Dutton, by the way, with 2 points, an assist, a rebound. Is that it in 2 minutes? But anyway, yeah.
No steals. Most importantly.
Oh shit.
He's got plenty of time to pick those up. So we'll see everybody in the chat, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow for that 6-gamer. For Eddie, I'm Zach. Shout out producer Thomas. Good luck tonight, everybody. And as always,
let's get these beans.